Hello there. It's time for Most Things Kenobi. Shouldn't it be All Things Kenobi?
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Most Things Kenobi, a podcast about Obi-Wan Kenobi and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, Lauren.
And I'm your host, Leanne.
And this week, we are diving in to episode 3 of the Kenobi series.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
I know.
Oh my god.
I watched it when it came out. I stayed up till 2 a.m. and was screaming at my laptop for an hour, basically.
I watched it as soon as I woke up and was screaming at my television. There's all kinds of ways we could describe episode 3 of the Kenobi series, but thank you for what we got. This was bold.
Yeah.
It was brave.
Yes.
And I died.
Leanne had a moment of ecstasy, I'm sure. I started watching it. I was 10 minutes in, and I picked up my phone and texted her, I know you're asleep, but when you wake up, you're going to fucking lose your mind when you watch this episode.
And I did. And it was glorious.
Oh my God.
My soul left my body.
Mine too. I sat there for a good hour. I was pacing my hotel room, just what did I just see? What have I just been watching?
For real. That's the statement. That's the statement that sums up episode 3 is, what did I just watch? And not in a bad way, in a good way.
No, in a good way. And not even just the ending, which of course, if you've seen it, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, do not listen to this episode. Go
turn back.
Watch it first. Yes, turn back now. We are not holding anything back. Okay.
No.
So not even just the ending, the whole episode had all these little reveals in it that I was just what? And it just escalated until the last scene made my brain explode. And like you said, my soul left my body. Totally.
There were so many little things nestled in this episode that made it wonderful and truly jaw-dropping at different points where I was just oh my God. For instance, they mentioned Quinlan Voss.
I know. I was so excited when he said Quinlan's name. And then the inscription too that he left on the wall. That was so cool. I really would be happy if Quinlan shows up.
Right? Okay, Obi-Wan even looked happy that he made it out. Quinlan?
Yes.
But you and I are happy because we're thinking Quinlan?
I know, it's
can we get a Quinlan?
My favorite Clone Wars episode is him and Quinlan.
And I was thinking of it too, how messy they are together.
Yeah.
And yet we've always said how they always have a love and respect for each other, as opposite as they are on the spectrum from one another. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
As Jedi.
They were Padawans at the same time, and I'm sure that they were in the same class, whatever you want to call it. They're of the same age, and they grew up together.
Yeah.
And I just love it. I would love to see them. Oh my God, I would love to see that in real life, live action. That'd be so fucking cool. And there are actors who we are on the roster, but we haven't seen them yet.
True.
In the show, so it's possible. Yeah. I don't know, just right from the beginning, the very opening, right? You see Obi-Wan meditating and they intercut it with Vader being put together, basically.
Yes, every piece of that scene gave me chills times to the nth degree.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see the pieces come together. We've never quite seen that before.
Yeah, all the things that he has to hang there.
Yeah.
He can't stand. He can't be so he's hanging while they attach his legs and his arms and his breathing apparatus, all of it. Ugh.
Do you know how fucking irritated Anakin probably is every single time he has to wait for all of his pieces to be put together? I mean, it's no wonder what happens at the end of this episode happens. Like, that suppressed rage that's constant, you know? Which is, it was all part of Palpatine's plan, is to keep him enraged constantly.
Right, well, he's helpless at the same time. Like, he has to, like, helplessly let the droids put him together. Like, yeah. What an interesting duality there, that, like, he builds droids and now they have to put him together every morning, basically.
Truth be told, that's one of the things I love about the Anakin Darth Vader character, is that it's totally flipped on its head. He had such a love for droids. He made his own droid. He always respected machines, and then he became one. It's like, I love shit like that. And not only that, but did you see, I know we got it in the preview, the trailer, but the arm he received as a Padawan with Obi-Wan is the arm they focus on.
Yeah.
And it's just so bittersweet because he held Padme's hand in marriage with that arm. And now it's literally a weapon of destruction.
Yeah. Which we see later.
Oh my God. I can't wait to talk about it.
I know.
Oh,
we're going to have to hold on to it till the end because it's like the last thing. And it's like, of course, it's the first thing we want to talk about. But I loved the intercutting of that scene because, of course, seeing Vader put together and everything is really cool. But at the same time, they're countering it with what Obi-Wan is going through. And it's almost like prayer. You know, he's like got his hands folded and he keeps saying, like, Master Qui-Gon, give me strength. And then as he says, he's coming, then they cut to Vader and it's the breathing. It's like the audio goes down to 0 and you just hear Vader breathing. It's so fucking good.
It's literally all you need. That's it. That's all you need. He is the world's best villain for a reason. You don't have to see him. You don't have to, anything. You just have to hear him. It's iconic. It is so, I just love it. I love it.
I love that they're having James Earl Jones do the voice still, too. It's so great.
You just took it right out of my head, what I was going to say. And James Earl Jones is back again to bitch slap everyone with his amazing voice. He is the king. He is everything.
Him. He's such a great actor, and I would love to do an episode about him someday. But I'm so happy that he's back. It's great.
It's you can't substitute it. There's no substitution. We're gonna have to someday, unfortunately, because not all things last. But I'm so glad we have him now.
Well, maybe they'll find a way to computerize his voice with enough sampling.
I'm sure there's someone out there training right now to take his place when the time comes. Jimmy Fallon can literally do anyone's voice. There has to be someone out there who can do it. But none of this matters. We have James Earl Jones right now in the Kenobi series.
So there was the scene of him talking to Reva right at the beginning, which I loved that they showed Vader's castle. Like I said, I would move in there tomorrow.
100%. That is a diva's castle. And it's so
great.
The thing I love is how over the top it is. It's a literal throne on the planet where you basically lost your human life.
Right. It's like, I'm sure that they talk about it somewhere in canon, but it's like, to remind yourself every day of the reason.
That's why he did it.
Like, you are the way you are. It's so,
that's why
it's so fucking extra.
It's extra and it's so Skywalker. I don't give a fuck. I know he's Darth Vader right now, but it's the cape swish of him walking. That is so Skywalker. To build that kind of castle in the place where it would enrage you the most constantly is so... It's so over the top and exactly what I want. And it looked great.
Yeah, it looked really good.
It just looked great.
Everything, all of the imagery of Vader is really beautifully done. And, it's interesting, too, cinematically, because he's very centered in all of the frames, which implies that, he has no problems with being the way he is. And, granted, I'm sure he doesn't like being a machine, but he's very, centered in his power right now. That's really clear from the cinematography. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah, we're talking 10 years after the incident, right? So he's gotten time to not be so awkward in the machine that he calls himself, that is himself. You know, so it probably, I mean, shit, I don't know. Mentally, he's not okay with any of it, but physically and like as far as a position with Palpatine, he's pretty solid. And I did like, first of all, Reva, I'm loving her character more and more every week.
Same.
She's interesting as hell. I can't wait to see where this goes. But I found her confidence in front of Vader refreshing, because most people cower in front of him.
Yeah.
She stood there like not an equal, but pretty close. She looked him in the eye. She spoke to him strongly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She didn't bow down. I really like that, and I like that it came from a woman.
I do too. And when he said, like, if you play, what did he say to her exactly? Like, if you prove yourself, you'll be Grand Inquisitor. She didn't say anything. She didn't say, thank you, my lord, nothing like that. She just is stoic, staring at him, and, like, would rather not play any cards. You know, she just doesn't show anything. It's really good. I'm really enjoying. I think Moses Ingram is doing an amazing job.
Moses Ingram nailing it, and she looks great. And oh my God, if it were me acting in front of Hayden with the Vader suit on, I would still be scared. Because like even Ewan said,
yeah,
you see this giant black suit, imposing figure walking towards you on set, and you can't help but be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
I mean, I was afraid of Vader in VR. It was terrifying. So.
Right?
Oh, man. I have to say, too, that, like, all the interactions with Obi-Wan and Leia are giving me major Obi-Wan and Numa vibes.
Very, very. And not only that, he is so sweet with her, and she is, we'll say the character of Leia, not the actress, but little Leia is becoming more comfortable. And I loved how when they got in the farming truck, you know, and they, you know, hitched a ride, that she just played along with the story and came up with the story. And
she was better at it than he was. She was like more agile on it. Yeah.
Right. And it really lends to when Leia eventually has to go pretend and save Han.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in, what is it? Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
You know, you see where she's getting it from. And man, what a smart little cookie. She's a perfect balance of Anakin and Padme. Perfect balance.
She is. And I noticed that people are giving this child actress a lot of shit. I mean, there's been a lot of shit being slung with this that is frustrating to see, but like
it's beyond frustrating.
She's doing such a good job. I think she's
fantastic.
She's so good, and I'm loving her performance. And it kind of struck me, and this is, I guess, obvious maybe, but like she is like through Leia, Obi-Wan is being reintroduced to the world, you know, and it's like this child's experience is like the thing that's kind of starting to break the walls down that he had built up around him. You know, and it's like you see him, he still has moments like when he turned her and he's like, people are not all good, Leia. Like,
that's right.
It's like he never spoke to people that way before, you know, like.
Never.
And this is because he's learned his lessons the hard way, you know, by having terrible things happen. And he doesn't want Leia to fall into that trap, but that is like slowly softening because Leia is just open still. She's a child who's like an open book, having these experiences with the worlds, because they keep planet hopping. But like, it's actually really fun to see that. I think it's a really beautiful technique that they're using to like, maybe we should just get into this right now. Like,
why don't we? Because we need to.
This needs to be addressed because we're both fucking sick of this. Everyone talking about Obi-Wan being weak.
Yeah, let's talk about it, because you and I have been talking about it behind the scenes for several days now. And we're here to address this in our way with our opinion of it.
Yes, of course.
Would you like to start it?
Yes, I wouldn't mind. People are really disappointed that Obi-Wan isn't more in his power. And it's like, why would he be?
Correct.
He's had some of the most traumatic experiences a person could possibly have. And he's carrying responsibilities on top of that. So he has no time to actually process that trauma. Even though you could say he's been there 10 years. If you've ever been through something traumatic, you can't force yourself to work through it necessarily. It has to be in its own time. And so I also believe he's closed himself off from the Force in an attempt to protect Luke. And probably himself.
Yes, that's his goal. That is his purpose. And he will do anything, including shut himself off from all of that has ever been a part of his life before to help this little boy and now his sister.
Yes.
And I would never expect him to pick up a lightsaber he has actively avoided using and wield it like he did in the prime of his the fighting in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
It's just, it would be unbelievable, not realistic, and a disappointment if I saw that.
Yeah, we've already seen Obi-Wan be that way. We've seen him at his prime. We've seen him in his full strength. That's not what this story is. This is a broken person.
Exactly, and it's about the story.
Yes, and the story is, how do you rebuild a broken person? That's what we're seeing. Like, if Obi-Wan came out of the gate and was a fucking badass Jedi who's like kicking...
It'd be stupid.
Kicking Vader's ass. Yeah, like, that's not a story. It might be entertaining, but I promise people that if you let the story unfold and they actually take it in a direction where they rebuild him, it's going to be way more validating for you as a viewer to watch him overcome that than to have him just like fly out the gate. Good old Obi-Wan, the way he always was, because that isn't what this story is.
Yeah, and let's talk about the scene itself. He tells Leia to run. He's going to draw Vader away from her. His goal isn't to come out swinging. Mm-mm. He doesn't want to draw attention to the fact that he's even carrying a lightsaber and that he knows that he could use it if he tapped into it. He's trying not to cause too much of a stir, just to take Vader away from her.
Yeah.
Again, his purpose is protecting these young Skywalkers.
Yes.
And one false move and it's over. So he told her to run. I think he even said, I'm going to draw him away.
Yeah, he does say that.
And he only, as Obi-Wan has always done, uses that lightsaber in defense.
Yes.
And I think it's incredible acting on Ewan's part to show the pain and the difficulty. He actually took a second hand and had to grip the lightsaber because he was trying, the scene was trying to show he needed that extra oomph to hold it against Vader, who is strong, who hasn't wavered, who's had time to build his strength in his new metal body. And he has a vendetta against Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan's already working with very little. He's got a lot going against him. He's got mental strife. He's got physical strife because he's cut himself off for a fucking decade from doing any of this. And he's staring at the face of his best friend and brother. And he says, "What have you become?" I mean, if it were me, and this was the first time I was looking face to face with his best friend, and that's what he looked like, I would be too stunned to move.
That's the thing. People are forgetting that Obi-Wan didn't know what to expect. And so he watches this nightmare of a figure walk down the street and murder a street full of people.
Yes.
And he's doing that to draw Obi-Wan out. So it's also kind of like, quote, Obi-Wan's fault. Like, he's not able to stop it and Vader's doing it because of him. It's like no one is taking into account, at least no one who is saying that Obi-Wan is running away. It's like, no shit, dude. First of all, I'd be afraid too. Like, he's allowed to have fear. And that's the thing. He said it to Leia at the beginning. When you have the Force, it's like turning on the light in darkness and you feel safe. And he has not been doing that for himself. He has been cut off from the Force. He feels unsafe. Now he's literally looking his worst nightmare in the face. And so I give him the space to be afraid. We've never seen Obi-Wan be afraid. So it's actually kind of interesting. And of course, the last time he was fighting this person, he hurt him very badly.
Yeah, he had the upper hand.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to recreate that scenario, which has been haunting him for 10 years, where he once again hurts his brother. So I think that scene was actually really beautifully done.
I do too, because now Vader is on the side that Obi-Wan was on 10 years ago.
Yes.
And of course he's going to use that to his advantage. Vader's been waiting for this moment as much as Obi-Wan's been trying to avoid this moment, or didn't realize it, and then he realizes it, and now he has to face it, right?
Yeah.
And of course it culminates with the incredible, I'm just going to say it, as fucked up and twisted as it was beautiful. When he threw that glass down, I didn't quite know what was going on, but when he just calmly touched it with his red lightsaber, and it ignited, I said, this is exactly what I fucking want. This is like I told you, this is the pomp and the flair and the over drama that I expect from Vader and his first encounter with Obi-Wan since the incident, right? To drag him in the manner that Obi-Wan literally drug him through, like to put him in flames, to set him on fire.
It's an eye for an eye.
Yeah. And they show Vader for a very long moment, his helmet with the flames reflecting in the eye plates of his helmet. Beautiful. Yeah. I loved every second of that. You want to talk about deep symbolism, and you could say obvious symbolism? That's what I want.
Yeah.
Because Anakin is in that suit, pissed off that Obi-Wan got away, but he had his moment, right? Obi-Wan was screaming. I mean, kudos to Ewan. For that scream, I felt that scream.
Oh my God. Did you notice too that it sounded like Anakin screaming?
Yes.
It almost made me wonder if they overlapped some of the audio, because his screaming was identical to Hayden's.
Yeah. It's not by mistake. It can't be.
Oh, no, I don't think so at all. And I think that that's why this scene literally, like, first of all, I think this might be one of the most brutal things I've ever seen in Star Wars. They literally...
And you're not the only one. A friend of mine, Dan, who was on the Star Cruiser with us, he DM'd me and said, that is one of the most ruthless things I've ever seen. I was like, that's why we love it here. I mean, it was
very hard. It was hard to watch it.
Absolutely, honestly, it was.
It was, story-wise, it is the right choice. Anything else wouldn't have worked as well. And it wouldn't have the impact that it needs to have, right? And so, like, Obi-Wan is literally now forced to face the deepest, most horrific fear, and now he has lived it and experienced what his best friend has gone through. And now it's the symbolism of purification through fire.
Yes. Nailed it. Yes, exactly.
So Anakin had his purification through fire, and you could argue that it brought out his true nature, which was Darth Vader. And Obi-Wan, we'll see what happens in the next episode, but I suspect that this purification through fire is going to bring out the compassion that is natural in Obi-Wan. That now he'll have some sort of compassion and sympathy in a way that he didn't have before. And it is the thing that's going to let him rebuild now. He has seen all these different people. He's encountered all these people, including Leia and Tala and Haja or Paja or whatever his name is, that they won't list anywhere. You know, all these people putting their lives on the line, and he's been like really holding it tight to protect himself and protect Luke. And now he's literally faced his worst fear. Yeah. It can't get worse than it just got. So the only place to go from here is up.
And I think that's beautiful storytelling.
I do too. It has to be something crazy like this. Like, it can't just be a cute little kid makes him suddenly a Jedi again. Right. It has to be a fucking... I hate to use this term, but it's a term that's used not just religiously. It's an actual term from Joseph Campbell. The crucifixion of our souls, right? This is Obi-Wan's crucifixion, and it's because it's the whole, like, cycle, right? He's done it... And he didn't do it to Anakin, but he didn't rescue Anakin from the flames. So Anakin sees this as Obi-Wan's fault. So now Obi-Wan has experienced what his brother has experienced. It's like like whoever wrote this really understood it.
Yes.
And so the people who are bitching about it don't understand the deeper mythology of the storytelling behind it. And that's why I feel so frustrated.
I would also like to ask all of the people, the naysayers, who were afraid of the PG-13 or whatever rating it has, how they're feeling right now. How all your naysayers feeling?
Seriously, I was like, not a kid's show. This isn't even an adult show. This is like, we just watched somebody get burned alive. Holy fuck.
Literally in burning glass.
And just like held the shot there for a really long time.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
like, it was a lot.
Now, granted, we have to be realistic about a few things. His hair should be singed off. His
Yeah,
beard should be singed off. His clothes should be stuck to his body. Not just a few cuts and we'll call it quits. But
Yep.
it's fantasy. But they were bold enough and what I think smart enough to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, like I told you, I think I want to change the method in which Darth Vader kills me. I think I want to change.
When you sent this message to me, I died. I laughed so hard.
Okay, just hear me out, listeners, because Lauren's already heard it. You know how I've always wanted to kind of be the person who is thrown to the ceiling and like sliced in half on via Rogue One. I'm changing that. I want to be the woman who is force choked and drugged through the middle of the street and left to die. When I saw that, I said, this is my Darth Vader, folks. This is him. This is it. I know. I get it. That's fucked up. I get it. I admit it. But if we're going there, just go there. And they went there, and I'm so happy.
Honestly, I love that they are this bold because it's really scary. And we need to really be afraid of Vader. And he's not that scary in the original trilogy. He's more like mysterious. He's supposed to be scary, but this is like when he was walking down the street
and just randomly pulling people and killing people and snapping necks and choking people.
I loved that moment too where Obi-Wan has now left the droid repair shop and he's like out in the alley and Vader had like knocked that box of crates over and there's the two people like hugging each other behind it. And then like the way they use audio is so perfect. Again, it went to silence, like they brought the audio to 0, and Vader turns right where Obi-Wan's supposed to be.
Yo,
I got goosebumps just
me
now
too.
talking about it.
Me too. That shit would scare me. I would run so fast the other direction.
Yeah.
But that was so good. I mean, the snap, like the head snap, like an animal that smells something, that senses something, and hones in on it. It's so good. Like, I know Hayden's underneath that suit, but brother brought it. You know what I mean?
It was amazing.
You gotta have that swagger and that.
And you could kind of tell that it's Hayden, the way that, like, when they showed the hands while he's walking. I know this sounds super weird, but, like, he has a physicality to him that other actors don't have. So, like, you could kind of tell that was him. Oh,
which
my God.
I like.
I'm literally got goosebumps so much right now.
I'm so happy with my life. I'm so happy with all of this. It's great.
Seriously,
I love it.
I swear to God, if we don't even get the next 3 episodes, I'm in love. I love this story. I love the show. I think they have just done it so right. And I was talking to Journey, which a lot of our listeners know Journey is a great artist. Hey, Journey.
Hey, girl.
And she made a point, and she's so fucking right, that it's The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett are very good, but their tones were like all over the place.
Yes, this is very focused. Obi-Wan is very focused.
Very focused, yes.
And it needs to be, though. It needs to be.
It does,
because
yeah.
We have a character that we know and love that has a lot of information. We have a backstory. We have a future. We have what his death is. We have what's beyond death for Obi-Wan. So they have to be very focused and complete in their story booking, their planning of this, the story mapping, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because, I mean, and in my opinion, I think they're on the right track. We're 3 episodes in. We have 3 to go. Next week's going to be very key because, like, what'd you call him? like Wompy Obi-Wan, or what's the word you...
Wumpy? Yeah,
Wumpy, yes. Yes, we're going to get Wumpy Obi-Wan.
Give me the Obi-Wan Wump, and I will die the happiest woman on this planet.
Yes, I hope we're sitting here next week at this time discussing all the Clone Wars flashbacks with Hayden and Obi-Wan in... I'm sorry, Hayden and Obi-Wan. Excuse me. Hayden... Okay, Anakin and Obi-Wan, or Hayden and Ewan. Pick your pairing. In Clone Wars armor. That's all I asked for.
Oh my God, yes. I want him to be like in a fever dream where he sees, I want him to like whisper Satine's name, and I want him to see flashbacks from the Clone Wars and wake up and realize, oh, I'm not in that anymore. Like, oh my God, I want this so badly.
If we can get a Satine flashback, even just a flashing image, just someone with a fuzzed out face. They don't even have to have like, Kate Blanchett.
But please have Kate Blanchett.
But please have Kate Blanchett. Just a fuzzed out face. Someone that we would know by the headdress or something, the gown.
We would recognize the headdress instantly. Yeah, that's all we would need. Oh my God, I'd die. I'm literally goosebumps again. I want to kind of talk about the underground that we got introduced to. And honestly, there's two other things that I really want to talk about.
Me too, I have an idea of something.
They're totally in different places in the storyline. So let's
cover it.
Which one do you want to talk about?
Just the stormtrooper that fell through the electrified fence and got severed in half. Why is it always me talking about people getting severed?
It's on my list.
Is it on your list? Okay. I just thought it was a cool effect. Glad they showed it.
It was, I think I sent you a message saying that was the moment where I was like, oh, the bar has moved.
The bar has moved. Not a kid show.
Yeah.
And still not PG-13. So
and they showed it too, because
they showed it.
On Clone Wars, they have cut some people in half. And actually, I just rewatched the Siege of Mandalore, and there's that horrific moment where I totally forgot about this, but where Maul is holding with the Force one of the trooper's arms through the door, and the door like cuts his arm off. I was just like, oh my God. But this, they always cut away so you don't see it. It just is implied. Yeah. We saw it in this show. They cut a person in half.
Yeah, the only cut we saw was through the abdomen.
Which I guess we've seen once before with Maul. God rest his soul.
True. True.
God rest him. Well, really quick, speaking of Maul, did you catch the symmetry of what Vader was saying to what Maul said to Obi-Wan, where Vader said, "Now you will suffer, Obi-Wan," and Maul said,
"Oh yes, I did. Yes, I did.
I will make you suffer as I have."
Well, first of all, I was feeling a lot of things in that moment, but I remember it registering in my brain like, "Oh, that's something." But I was so involved with what I was seeing that I was like, "Oh, you know." But you know how your brain moves fast, but your eyes are still stuck on things.
It's making a list.
Exactly. That's what happened. But you're right. You're right. Whoever collaborated and wrote this and put all of this into it, they paid attention.
They really did. They just they knew the material, and then they understood the mythology. And I just love that I'm seeing. This is okay. I'm gonna just spaz out for a second. This is the hero's journey. Obi-Wan is getting his own hero's journey, and he is in the stage that Luke was in The Last Jedi. There is a stage of the hero's journey where the hero now has all the knowledge and wisdom, which Obi-Wan knows the truth now. He knows who the Sith Lord is. He knows what his friend has become. And then you escape with the boon, right? So he takes the child and he escapes to Tatooine and goes into hiding. Mm-hmm. And this is where the hero becomes just so distraught that with the knowledge that he has that he can't function anymore. And so he just kind of recedes into himself. And this is being done beautifully in the story. It takes an outsider, finds him, heals him, and returns him to the regular world, where he then becomes, he crosses the final threshold to become the hero once again. Leia is that person. It wasn't done properly in The Last Jedi. Luke wasn't actually healed. And that's why this, you can see Obi-Wan is healing and he is crossing these thresholds. It's just such good writing, and I'm so pleased to see that he's getting the proper treatment as a character to like bring him full circle. It just, the character deserves it. He's been put through so much.
Yes, and I don't think so. On the point of The Last Jedi, I don't want to get into it too much because everyone knows how we feel about that
Yes.
movie. The setup is much better in this regard, and thus the outcome will be a lot better.
Yes, because it's a different team, a different production team, different writers.
Correct.
And they worked with
Yeah.
Filoni on Obi-Wan.
Point blank, period, end of story. Keeping it pushing now.
I mean,
So
we've seen how he's tried to like repair how people feel about Luke in Book of Boba Fett
absolutely.
and Mandalorian, and so we know he would not let that happen to Obi-Wan.
No, and this is, we never went into this thinking it would happen, and we're not seeing it. So I'm quite pleased.
Yeah, I trust that the story is gonna end properly, and
Deborah Chow is doing an excellent Chow.
Chow, she's amazing. And you could see when we were talking earlier about how its tone isn't all over the place. They have one director, they have the same executive producing team, they have the same team of writers, and it fucking shows. The difference is obvious to me.
Yeah.
Like Mandalorian was all over the place. Every episode in season 1 was just like it was so disjointed. I'm not saying it was bad. It was fun.
No.
Totally. Season 2
People
was
love
fucking
it.
great. Yes, it's good, and like people love it for a reason. But from a story position, it was just like every episode had a different tone, and that was really difficult. And I know Clone Wars had that sort of, but not really, because they had the same executive producers, the same director. You know, the show was being run by Filoni, so it always had that same touch throughout it all. And the Obi-Wan show is just so consistent, and it's so fucking refreshing.
It's like watching a movie that's just, doled out in hour-long segments. I mean, it's just that good.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really good. I'm so happy.
I am too.
And I can't wait to see what happens next week. This is great.
I'm dying to know what comes next. Girl, can we please talk about the conversation in the transport
Please. Yes.
between Obi-Wan and Leia? Like the whole sequence where they get it. And just really funny side note, Freck, the creature driving the truck,
Yeah.
is played by Zach Braff from Scrubs.
Oh, it is? No
Yes.
shit, I didn't know that. Well, isn't that proper?
I thought that was so
He's
funny.
a jokester.
I loved the way the nose was moving, and I thought that was really
it was
funny.
it was it was a cute. You could say there was some symbolism there, cultural symbolism from present day, but we don't need to get into it. But I thought it was interesting that they hopped in knowing that he was a supporter.
Yeah.
And Leia just played right along.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan had reservations, because he's in the protection mode. And she was just bold and smart about it and did her best. And he's the one that screwed up and called her Leia.
But I loved how they recovered from that.
Yes,
'Cause
very
it was-
well.
Oh my God. Because I was just like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And then he just says, that was her mother's name. I get confused. As I said, it's been very difficult. I was just like, that's fucking smart writing. That was, because now it turns it so that now they can naturally have a conversation about Leia's parents. And it was so fucking beautiful.
And I just love how he kicked everyone's ass in the end anyway.
I did too. Oh, that was everything.
Were you dying?
I was
Because
dying.
I was like, Lauren's having a wonderful time again this week at this episode.
I got to see my Obi-Wan kick the shit out of a whole truckload of people, and it was the greatest day of my life.
It was great. And we also got the answer of, remember we were trying to figure out what the golden droid thing looked like? That was the loader droid.
The loader droid. Yeah, that was really cool. I liked the sound effects with that thing.
Me too. I felt kind of bad for him because he couldn't speak, but I did like the actions speak louder than words kind of thing.
Yes, I thought that was
a nice
great.
little reminder.
One thing too, Vader lets Obi-Wan go.
Oh yeah.
that a lot of people are talking about this because they're like, he could have walked through the fire. He could have stopped it. It's like, yeah, he did it on purpose.
Yeah, he wants to play with his prey.
Yeah.
He's not done with Obi-Wan. No. Once isn't good enough for him. He's going to draw this out. He's going to, it's just like Maul, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Sith mindset of like, take everything you love and use it against you and injure you a few times so I'm not fucking around. But in the end, I'll have my way. That sort of mentality.
Well, and like
which is ruthless.
He's wounded, but these people come and rescue him, and he'll retreat with these people, like leading Vader to their underground network. And God, wouldn't I love to see when Obi-Wan returns to his power to protect the network and all the...
Yes!
Oh my God, that'd be so fucking great.
And that damn Jedi, rest in peace Jedi that got hung in the first 2 episodes or whatever. Yeah. He had the nerve to say to Obi-Wan, what happened to you? Well, bitch, when he ignites that lightsaber and saves the whole thing, he'll be like, this is what happened to me. And then he'll just take control of the situation and do it flawlessly with great hair. That's what I'm thinking.
I think we should end it right there.
Okay, let's end it right there. Okay, so our question to you this week about episode 3 of the Kenobi series is, how did you interpret the duel between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan? We told you our strong feelings. We would love to hear yours.
It's your chance to voice your opinion. Put it out there. Next week, join us back here for part 4 of the Kenobi series. We're going to dive in and do our reactions to that one. And holy shit, we can't wait. I don't know how we're going to survive a whole week, honestly, between episodes. It is fucking torture already.
All right, this week for our listener comments, we're going straight to our patrons. Thank you for everyone who supports us via Patreon. We got some great comments when we asked what your favorite part of last week's 2 episodes were. Snow says, it's so hard to pick, but I think when Obi is telling Leia she reminds him of someone, seeing how clearly Leia reminds Obi-Wan of Padme and Anakin is everything. And yeah, who can argue that, right?
Yeah.
Chilazer Lightsaber says, I could go for something sad, but Haja, the fake Jedi, simply cracked me up. Obi-Wan's face as he was witnessing him faking the Force was peak Star Wars humor.
I loved that scene.
Totally.
I thought it was hilarious.
All of it. Delta says, OMG, so many. I totally second what Jedi Master Adam said above about the moment Obi-Wan realizes he can't defend the man at his job. The micro expressions on his face. And to that point, Jedi Master Adam left a very lengthy comment, so I'm going to try and only pick out a few parts, but he says in episode 2, my favorite moment was buying Leia the gloves.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love that moment.
Right? At first, I thought this was just cute and funny, and it made me smile, but after finishing it, I thought about that moment many, many times as it kept popping back into my mind. I think there's far more to it. I think about how much love Obi-Wan has for the Skywalker family. It reminds me of how underneath the sometimes stern, always diligent, strict master persona he had with Anakin, there was always an undercurrent of gentle affection. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's really true. That's such a...
And the fact that his compassion, he couldn't save the person in the assembly line. Like, he couldn't help him in any way,
Oh, yeah. It was so visible on his face. What was the phrase Adam used? The face journey, I think is what he said. The face journey that Obi-Wan takes us on. It's true. He, like, Ewan doesn't say a thing in that scene. It's all portrayed through his facial expressions, and it's amazing.
Yeah, when Jedi Master Adam commented on his favorite moment in episode 1, it was, without a single word uttered, we see Obi-Wan go from realization, anger, compassion, empathy, protectiveness, and then his face goes slack with resignation.
Yeah. It's such a good scene. It's so heartbreaking.
I think this is really important. Jedi Master Adam says, for those of us in the audience who have spent a lifetime hiding who we really are in order to fit in, man, this scene cut deep. And I think there's a piece of all of us in one way or another that have had to do that.
I think that's why it resonates so much with people. Some of us more than others, for sure, have had to repress who we are. And when you do that, it just makes you sick. Over time, you can't, it's heartbreaking to have to even sustain that for any period of time. But yeah, I thought that was a really beautiful point to make, honestly.
So thank you to all of our patrons. Your comments are amazing. Keep them coming. They're too long to read on here, but we read every single word and geek out with you. And if you want to also be a patron of ours, head over to Patreon and look up Most Things Kenobi, and you can join in the conversation.
Yep. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Most Things Kenobi podcast. If you would like to support us, you can do so now on Patreon. And as always, follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast player. If you enjoy our podcast, feel free to rate us on Spotify and Apple. And if you need just one place to find all of these, head over to mostthingskenobi.com.
So until next time, my space twin, may the Force be with you.
Always.